to get rich, to build wealth, you actually have to start investing.
This is The Payoff with me, Sylvia Jeffries. Effie Zahos, how wonderful to have you on the podcast today. Thanks for giving us some time.
Well, I'm super excited to be on your podcast. I'm so proud that you have got this podcast, and it's so important that, you know, there is a podcast like this. I mean, there's a lot of money podcasts, but I'm so proud that you've jumped in this area and seen just the importance of it.
Well, I've been dying to get you on because I credit you with sparking my interest in money and finance and investment and all of those things. And like everyone else in the makeup room at Channel 9, I can't let you pass by without peppering you with questions about superannuation and ETFs. How long does it take you on average to get through the hair and makeup room these days?
I don't spend much time on hair and makeup on me, as you can see. It's more on the questions. I really feel like I've got to earn my way to get hair and makeup done, and you just waltz in and get your stuff done. I've got to really work for it.
Well, it's a credit to you, Effie, because everybody puts a lot of trust in you and your advice because you've been in this game for so long. You always... You're such a sound voice in this space and someone who we all trust and admire. And so I'm sorry, that is the downfall that comes with being such a trusted voice in the money sphere. So we're very grateful to have you on talking to us and answering some of our listener questions. We've been really excited to field some questions from our listeners this week and to put them to you. No one better to answer them. But before we climb into some of those questions, I want to start with sort of the big picture here because at The Payoff, we're all about looking to younger generations and how they can get ahead in this brave new world where the goalposts are shifting constantly around them. There is a long-held assumption that every generation will be better off than the last. Do you still believe that is a reality?
Yeah. Look, first of all, I've got to make clear too, Sylvia, that I'm not a financial advisor. But for me, passion of financial literacy, as you know, I think we've had a professional relationship, friendship and so on for over 20, 30 years. I've always talked money, and for me, my passion is really just breaking through the barriers and to try and communicate that as best as I possibly can. I mean, having said that too, I do a lot of roles with financial literacy anyway. That question really hits home a lot with me. Will the next generation be better than this one? Because I think as a parent, I mean, you're a parent as well, we want and we hope that our kids will be better than us, better in every possible way. But I mean, I don't have the answer to that. All I can say is that I do feel that there's a lot more struggle that younger generations have these days. So on a positive side, I look at I've got a 24-year-old girl, I've got a 19-year-old boy. I look at the endless opportunities they have that we didn't have, or more particularly me, in the sense that, they've got education possibilities, the technology there to help them, the different career paths, the flexibility. There's so much there that exists. But on the other side, they're burdened with so much debt. You look at the average HECS debt, if they're going that way, it's taken them years to pay off that. And you've also got the housing affordability. There's so many barriers there that I think, gee, did I have it easier than them?
You spoke about female financial literacy and how, in particular, that is a real passion of yours. And I know you've been doing a lot of work in that area for many years. There is a gender gap when it comes to investing in particular, I think globally, but here in Australia specifically, it takes women longer to get in the share market. And there does appear to be an increasing number of women investing in shares beyond their superannuation, but it's still a smaller number than men investing in the share market. Why do you think that is? Why are women slower to get into investing or more reluctant to get into it?
Yeah, it's interesting because women, when you look at the traits of women, they, on paper, we have the capability and the skill set to be amazing investors. We don't jump into investment decisions so easily. We research. We may be probably a little bit too risk averse. If you're just looking at kind of data on a top level, we have the makings to be great investors, but you're absolutely right. There is still a big gap between men and women when it comes to investing. And look, you can read into that data. Why is it so? Why does it take so long for women to jump, say, into share investing? I know in Australia, women are more likely to go to tertiary education, more so than even men these days. Is that lack of jumping into the kind of, say, the job market early, jumping in later rather than earlier, a barrier for us, not having the income to jump in? Is it our money trait and personality that we're too adverse to jump in? I'm not quite sure why we're not going in there. The gap is closing, but look, I even see sitting on the board of InvestSmart, which is a robo-advisor, the data still shows that, men are more likely to invest than women. And even looking at what our investments are. I was looking at some data even from Cortality, which was CoreLogic. Men are more likely to invest in shares, to do deposits, cryptocurrencies. 43% of women say they don't have any investments. So there's still a long way to go. And let's get real here. Saving $5, $10 or saving on, your supermarket brands is great. And we're very good at doing budgets. But, to get rich, to build wealth, you actually have to start investing. Yeah. And that's where I really want to see more women jump into it. It was interesting. I did this investment quiz, 15 what I thought were simple questions. Yeah. So I thought were simple questions. We put it out. We got YouGov to do the survey of it, and 74% of Aussies failed that test. Failed this simple investing test. And again, there was a gender gap in the results, that men did better at it than women. I can understand why those with a higher income might have done better with the results, and that happened. Those that earned over $150,000 did better with the test. That was probably because they've got more money to invest. But I still don't understand why we're getting results in this day and age that show that there is a literacy gap between men and women, and there shouldn't be.
What about home ownership?
Yeah.
It's the great Australian dream, isn't it, to own your own home? Is it still a reality in this day and age?
Me, I'm kind of a bit more optimistic. Yeah. So I get frustrated when I hear that the great Aussie dream is dead. It's not easy. I'm not saying it's easy by any means, but I refuse to kind of be beaten. And I think the mindset of home affordability needs to shift a little bit. What does that look like? How do I get into it? And what do I need to sacrifice to get into it? I mean, we're looking now at property prices in some states reaching 1.5 million, the median price for a house.
It's crazy.
It's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah.
When you think about, where am I going to get this deposit together?
What are wages doing compared to that?
Well, they're not. And this is the other thing with younger people, as we were talking about. Wages, especially in younger Aussies, just haven't kept up. And it's like 9 or 10 times your wage to actually, get a home. So it can't, on paper, yes, it looks like this is not possible. But I guess what I do like about younger Aussies is that their resilience and the way they're going around it. We clearly are still buying property. People are jumping into the market, but it's how are they doing it? And I think the old way of just saving a bit of money in a term deposit and, crossing your fingers that you're going to get there, it's not going to happen.
Yeah.
If that's how we are wanting to buy a property, just save a little each month, a week, whatever, into your savings account, that's not going to happen.
Rent vesting is obviously becoming a lot more popular. Quite a few of our guests on this program, women in their 20s and 30s, have gone about getting into the market that way, buying in Queensland, renting in Bondi, so they can carry on doing their business here. So it's about getting creative within the new goalposts, isn't it? And within this new environment.
It is. And when we look right now, we're possibly looking at more rate cuts this year. So if we see more rate cuts, that means that your saving accounts are going to go down. If your saving accounts are going to go down, you're going to find you're chasing your tail all the time. So by the time you save it, your deposit, the property price has gone up, your deposit requirement is bigger. And you're thinking, damn it, I'm just behind all the time. So it is a case of putting that mix and match strategy. And even with my own kids, my daughter has bought her first property. I guess if she has a mother like me, you're kind of forced to jump in, because I'm a big believer, jump in when you can, because the sooner you can get into something like property, it creates that wealth and it's forced savings. I'm not a big fan of mortgages, absolutely not. Especially you don't want to have a mortgage for 30 years. But one thing Aussies are good at is paying back debt. So if it's a good debt, great, go for it. So mix and match strategies. Your bank account's going to go down. The interest rate's going to go down, but you need that because it's money in the bank, it's safe, it's guaranteed. But if time is on your side and you think you're going to take, say, 5 years to save a deposit, you actually then have other opportunities. I don't understand why more Aussies aren't saving in their super, the first home super saver scheme. Great way to be getting the returns of your super fund. And in fact, your returns are more than just your super fund because they're deemed to be earning a certain rate. And a lot of Aussies don't know that.
And you're paying less tax.
You're
on
paying
that
less
money,
tax.
right?
So the money that goes in is at 15% instead of your marginal tax rate. Tick one. Then your actual returns in your super fund, they're not actually the return of what your super fund is giving. The government deems it at a certain level. And I think it's around 7.17 at the moment. Your bank account's not going to be giving that. So why more Aussies are not involved in that product, I don't know. Well, I do know. It's bloody complicated.
It's complicated. Yes, I had this discussion on the show this morning. There are so many ways to climb into the market now.
Yes.
As a first home buyer,
Yeah.
but there seems to be maybe a lack of awareness around
Yeah.
some of
Well,
those entry points because they are complex.
Well, let's think about it. Do super funds want you to actually take money out of your super? No. So surely they should be making it a lot more easier for people to access their super for the home deposit. And they're not doing that. But other parties are. There are other apps out there. A Home Sooner is another one that is basically trying to make it easy for people to understand, if I am putting money into my super, into the first home super saver, how much am I earning? How much can I pull out? What about my bank account? How much do I have there? How much are my shares? And that's that mix and match strategy. Bank account, first home super saver, and maybe an exchange traded fund if you've got time.
Okay, we're going to come back to home ownership and first home buyers a little later, but I want to dive into these questions. We put the call out to our wonderful audience for some questions for Effie. Ask Effie, because Effie can always answer them. You are a walking fountain of knowledge when it comes to money matters. And we had a great response from some of our listeners. This one, to kick it off, I think really hits home with this younger generation when it comes to afterpay and credit cards.
Yes.
And how to get on top of our debt, how not to blow out with debt as well. So this question comes through from Charlotte saying, what are the benefits of afterpay versus credit cards?
Yeah, afterpay, buy now, pay later, that whole market gets a really bad rap, doesn't it? So let's break it down. Do they deserve that rap? Do they deserve that bad rap? I feel credit cards and buy now, pay later, they're one and the same thing. And they're finally now being recognised as one and the same thing. On July 10th, the legislation came through that buy now, pay later. It's a credit. It's a credit. It's a loan. So, they have to do credit checks and so on. There's clearly a need here for short-term credit. And this is where the problem is. That's the bigger problem. The bigger problem is that we just don't have money in an emergency account to help us. So we're either going to use a credit card or we're going to use buy now, pay later. I think the reason why buy now, pay later may get a bit more of a bad rap in the sense it's a lot easier to access. You know, if you're online or even through the app, getting your credit card out, putting the numbers if you haven't already saved them, there is a bit of a barrier there. So for me, buy now, pay later is more of a change in your mindset and your money behaviour. And when it comes to money, I think your biggest barrier is probably what's going on in your head. Because if you have those, and I call them voices in your head that, kind of say, that's okay, I can afford that, or I'll just put it on this, and you justify your behaviour. Well, then you need to address that before you can start even thinking about whether, investing or how to build wealth. So buy now, pay later can stop you from actually achieving your financial goals. Short term, they hit a need. And I'm never going to knock someone back or down and say that you can't use it, because for some people it is the only way, unfortunately, that they can maybe put food on the table. And buy now, pay later is being used for that. but then so are credit cards as well. So one's not better than the other. I think the biggest problem with buy now, pay later is it can change your money mindset. If you are constantly using it, then what you're doing is really just kind of chasing your tail.
Do we know much about, in terms of habits,
Yep.
whether people are better off or better at paying off afterpay or buy now, pay
Yep.
later than credit card debt?
Yeah. So arrears at the moment with both credit cards and buy now, pay later, they're actually not too bad, although we have racked up more. So when you look at credit cards are typically older people. So the stats show that they're about, the average age for a credit card user is 57 years of age. When you look at buy now, pay later, it's 18 to 25.
Wow.
Yeah. And what it does show is that with credit cards, we're about $18 billion. We're actually using it more for purchases. We have paid a considerable amount down, but we're kind of ticking up again. So I expect that people's budgets are being stretched more, and we're relying on credit a little bit more again. As far as arrears go, we're not too bad. I thought would be worse, but then that's just averages. I think that the bigger problem with, say, buy now, pay later or credit cards is that the number of people that are revolving that debt and not able to get off that
Not
kind
chipping away at it.
Yeah, and it becomes a bit of a payday cycle too, doesn't it? Whereby if you are using something like this to carry you through to your pay, then something is fundamentally wrong with your budget.
And of course, it's important now to be aware of those changes to how buy now, pay later affect your credit score.
Yeah, and it could affect it good. If you are paying it off in time, then that will go on your credit history, your good credit history, because you'll have good and bad. So that could actually lift up your credit score a little bit. But if you're constantly grabbing these, because this will be on your credit file every time you go and get a buy now, pay later facility, that's a red flag too. So yeah, you're absolutely right. This will now start changing those credit scores.
What about credit cards and points,
Yeah.
frequent flyer points, for example? What are some of the traps to be aware of?
Everyone kind of chases points. And the thing is, social media doesn't help because
You see some guy flying business class to London on his points.
Yeah.
What's he been buying to get that many points?
I know, and you start thinking, what am I doing wrong?
What am I doing wrong?
But, you know, I always say the grass may be green on the other side, Sylvia.
Yeah.
The chances are it's fake. There's fake grass on the other side.
AstroTurf everywhere.
It's something like that. It's something like that. Look, the cards have changed a lot with the way the points are done. There are caps on it. The earn rate has changed. They're not as lucrative as they used to be. And I think for a lot of us, the majority of us, they're actually more of an enabler. You get a card and you think you got to spend more to get these points. You do have to pump quite a lot through to get value out of these points. And most of us are just not able to do that. You're also then looking at the fees that go on these cards, some of them as high as $400-500. So you've got to weigh that in. I think it's really important to understand if you are looking for a card, what do you want the reward points for? Is it for flying? Is it for actually just getting other rewards? What's the earn rate? What is the true value of these points? And the good news is there's a whole lot of online calculators that you can go in. Most of the comparison sites, whether it's Finder, CanStar, Mozo, will have a calculator to help you work out, this is the card you've got, this is the value of the points that you're using to see if it's worth your while. If you are chasing points, like I know a lot of people will go from one card to the next. Understand that could, of course, affect your credit history. You don't hear much about that, your credit score. And also, you have to pay for that fee up front. And most banks these days now do not refund that fee, even if you've used it only for half the year. There used to be like an ability for you to call them and get a pro rata rebate on that $400 annual fee. Now you'll cop it.
We've had a lot of questions come in from our audience about ETFs, exchange-traded funds. We've spoken to a lot of our guests about them. I know you do a lot of talking on this topic as well. So we've got this question from M, who says, ETFs, it all sounds great, but how do I actually buy them? Where do I start?
Yeah, it's a great question. I'm glad that people are starting to kind of understand, ETFs, exchange-traded funds, what are they? And start to learn about it. Look, I was looking at just the numbers that coming in today. There is basically now 265 billion funds listed in the ASX.
Wow.
That's the latest ones that are flying through there, about 360 that you can choose from. There's a lot. I can see the confusion. So I think the first thing is to do, if you're not sure what these are, even just get onto Money Smart's website and have a read about them. So basically, an exchange traded fund, I like to think of it as a grocery basket. And in that grocery basket, the fund manager puts in the companies, the items, what you're buying, that track a certain index. So to keep it simple, let's say you just want to invest in the top 200 companies in Australia. So, Commonwealth Bank, we all heard, know them, CSL and so on. They track that index. So if that index goes up and you hear on the news the ASX 200's gone up, it's gone down or whatever, that's what your money should have done. It should have gone up, it should have gone down. It just tracks that. So the difference between all these ETFs will be coming down to fees, and the fees here are pretty sharp. So you just need to look at the fees. What am I tracking? And how do you buy them? Well, you can go a number of ways. You can go directly to these providers. So you probably may have heard of Vanguard, one of the big, You can, some of these now have consumer platforms where you can invest them directly and go straight to them. Others, you will have to go through a broker and pay the brokerage fee, and that could be like, say, CommSec. You can go and go directly and buy that Vanguard if you want. Then you've got other platforms like who are on the board that I sit with, InvestSmart or StockSpot as well. And believe me, I have lots of different funds everywhere.
Yeah.
Collect them like lipsticks, which is probably not good, because then what you're doing, and I know I'm guilty of this, is you're overlapping. You can have too many ETFs.
Okay.
Because
a lot of them are tracking the same markets.
Exactly. So why pay for the double fees? Which is why sometimes it's good to go to an ETF provider and they can make up a portfolio for you. So we basically on InvestSmart's website have a risk profiler. What are you saving for? How long have you got? Who are you? That kind of thing. And it will come out and spit out, well, we think this kind of portfolio would suit you. And that is a mix of different ETFs put together for you. But you can do the exact same thing. You can look at that and copy it and mirror it. But the thing is that I was saying before, you can have too many, because once they start crossing over, you'll think, well, I've invested in all these companies in this stock and ETF, and I've got this one, I'm overlapping. So you've got to be careful. The good thing is you really can track anything and everything these days. And I know there's been a lot of talk about gold, because gold prices are going up because of all the uncertainty and so on. You can invest in an ETF that just tracks gold as well. And that's sometimes nice to have, say, to a portfolio that might be a high growth ETF. You could possibly maybe, attach a gold to it if that doesn't invest in it.
What kind of returns would you expect on an ETF as opposed to a standard savings account? Yeah.
Well, your standard transaction account, nothing.
Zilch.
Maybe if you're lucky, 0.5. Your bonus savers, whereby you have to put in some money or do a certain amount of transactions, or it's only for 4 months, could be around 5%. And then your ETFs, well, it depends on what are you tracking.
Yep.
Is it conservative? Is it a bit more aggressive and so on? Over a 5-year period, I'd like to think around 10%. But the interesting thing is you read the perspective, go and look, prospectus, and go online and see, well, where is my money investing and what's the fund's objective? And you'll be able to see, is it supposed to be just tracking the ASX 200? Most of them are passive, but you can find others that are a little bit more hands-on, so to speak.
Yeah. Okay, this is another great question that came through from Katie. I have $50,000 in savings. It's not enough for a house deposit, which is my ultimate goal. So I'm torn between putting that into ETFs and keeping it in my savings account and continuing to build on that.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts?
Okay, so not a financial advisor there, so I can say put it on red and good luck. Yeah. No, I would never say that. I would never say that. I mean, I do question $50,000. Is that enough for a deposit? Probably not, but don't do your sums. Have a look at it, because there are so many schemes that are out there that can allow you to jump into the property market. So the home guarantee scheme, a deposit of just 5%, avoid lenders' mortgage insurance. In January next year, that's the federal one. The government will basically make it more flexible as well, more spots and so on. Each state has like shared equity home loans. That's where you go in bed with the government. So they'll put in some and you put in some. So I think the most important thing is don't do anything at first. Keep it safe in the bank and then do some research. What is it that you want to save for? Is it for a property? Then what are you basically looking at? How much more do you need to save? Because that time frame is very important.
How long is it going to take?
Yeah, that's really important.
If it's a long way away, maybe
that mix and match strategy we were talking about
could be better. But if you need it soon, then you're better off keeping it.
Yeah, you
probably in a
if you need
account.
It soon, unfortunately, then you just got to play the game with the cash accounts and just see, well, where's the best rate? What do I need to do to make sure I get those bonus rates and so on? Have a look at the First Home Super Saver account. You can pull out 50,000 in the end. That could possibly work too.
A way to build on that.
Yeah.
Talk us through a little bit more about these different government schemes and initiatives that are available at the moment. You alluded to it already.
Yeah.
There seems to be a bit of a lack of awareness around what is available, but there maybe has never been more available to first-home buyers.
I don't think there's been as much as there are right now for first-home buyers. I mean, I remember when I was buying property, I think the luckiest we got was basically, well, I shouldn't say lucky because we're in this mess for a number of reasons. And until we fix the main point being supply, these ways of getting in are adding to demand. But from a consumer point of view, I get it. You just want to buy your place. You just want to take advantage of what you've got. So the first port of call is basically which state do you want to buy in? Obviously, if you're a first-home buyer, then you've got to be able to be living in that property. So some of these won't work for rent vesting. Typically, what you'll find is that there'll be stamp duty concessions as a first-home buyer, and then there'll be different ways to jump into the market. Do you want to jump in on your own? Then you've got the first-home guarantee scheme. Can be as low as a 2% deposit, 5% for most people that would be. That avoids lender's mortgage insurance, and that lender's mortgage insurance is typically applicable because you don't have that full 20% deposit, which is, quite a lot to actually get together. So it's a great way to jump in. I'm all for that. I know my daughter went through that. It's not as easy to get across the line. There's about 37 lenders that offer it, but I believe when it gets expanded on the federal level, the First Home Guarantee Scheme, more lenders will jump on board. If you've got a HECS debt, that's going to kind of lower your borrowing power. But again, the good news with HECS debt is that we've just seen that reduced by 20%. And also some lenders like the Commonwealth Bank, if I had a HECS debt, I'd probably, not that I would advocate any bank over another, but I do like their policy in the sense that they'll only put a 1% service ratio if you've got a HECS debt. So what that means is normally when you go to a bank, they'll say, the advertised rate's 6, we're going to add on 3% to make sure you can afford it. They'll assess you at 9. So that could mean you borrow less. But if you've got a HECS debt with a CBA and it's going to be paid within 5 years, they'll say, we'll only put 1% margin on.
Superannuation, I know, is one of your favourite topics, Effie, and I have asked you 1,000 times if I'm getting the kind of returns that I should be getting through my fund. Things are changing in the superannuation world a lot at the moment. Goalposts, again, in this space are shifting, the new super tax coming into effect. What would be your advice? You mentioned you have a 24-year-old daughter. What would be your advice to your 24-year-old daughter around tailoring her superannuation at this point in her life?
Yeah, you're right. I'm a big fan of super, but it's tested my patience recently. Well, not recently. The thing with super is it still has all the elements of being perhaps one of the best wealth creating strategies we've got. Because let's face it, most of us aren't going to be millionaires because we've come up with an amazing product or an app and so on. Most of us are just normal, which is fine,
We're
fine.
just having a go.
We're just having a go. And I'm one of them. Gee, if I was an entrepreneur, I wouldn't be sitting here right now.
Yes, you would. You would still be sitting here having a chat with me, Effie.
Actually, I would. Yeah, sorry. Of course I would.
We'd probably be having a champagne, though. There's a difference.
It might be a different conversation. But no, I guess it's funny you say that because I guess I have a mentor myself. So my mentor is Paul Clitheroe. He's like the godfather in finance. And it's funny, he always says to me that most people are fine with Corollas. We love the Ferraris, but we're fine and we'll get through life with the Corolla. And I think that is me. I work hard, I play hard, and I want to make the most of my money. And this is why I love super so much, because for most people, you actually don't have to do anything. Your boss is going to build that nest egg up. And we know now in the new financial year, after 33 years, it's finally reached 12%. So 12% of what you earn, your boss needs to put it in there. Assuming your boss does put it in there. That's another story.
Better check that. Yeah.
Better check that. That's another story. So the beauty about that is that thanks to the magic of compound interest, there's time on your side, there's diversification, it's forced saving. So I'm going back to that story I was saying with home loans. We're not good at voluntarily saving, but this is forced. We've got no choice. When we get paid, it comes out. Love it or loathe it, it's going to happen. It's your money, so make the most of it. So this is why I do love super in that regard, that you could stuff up in life with everything financially, and so long as you were working and your boss paid it, you'll have money at the end of the day. So that's great. But what am I saying to my daughter going back? It's a long way of answering this question.
That's good.
I would not say make it your be-all and end-all. For me, it was, there's a couple of boxes you tick. I like to save, jump into the property market, invest and have super. And I've had a big focus on super. But then I'm 55 and, can they stuff it up before I get to preservation age 60? You betcha they can. They've only got 5 years.
Because they can and they will change things.
Yeah.
And they have.
And they have. And so if you've got a lot of time in your side, can you imagine a 24-year-old? What's super going to look like when they're about to retire?
So will this new super tax on superannuation nest egg over $3 million seems like a lot of money that not most people maybe of our age might not reach in our careers. Yeah. But someone like your daughter might more easily.
100%. And it was interesting. When this came out, was it in 2023? I remember being on the Today Show and I crunched the numbers back then and I said, even my daughter will reach 3 million. Now, I know Deanna from AMP has recently crunched those numbers and I'm so glad she did because it got even more attention out there that I think her numbers were on a 22-year-old doing nothing, just the magic of compound interest. But the time they get up to that preservation age of, retirement, 60 odd, whatever, you'd be reaching that 3 million threshold, passing that 3 million threshold. I don't believe that they will stay like that at the moment. So it hasn't passed legislation. We're in the new financial year. It's still going to be made law. The likelihood of them not indexing it, I just can't believe they won't do that. Stranger things have happened, but I think this has done more damage to the industry than ever before.
How so? People are going to look at other ways to build up their superannuation?
Already, those who are in self-managed super funds have been talking to their financial advisors, have been looking at other ways, where can they invest or what can they do.
Do they buy a property and put it in their kid's name?
They're doing weird money. They probably shouldn't until we know exactly what's happening. But yes, behaviour's changing.
They're shifting money around.
But already the younger generation, I'm listening to my daughter, she's going, I just don't trust it anymore. That's what I mean. It's doing more damage than ever. Super is definitely a wealth creation vehicle, but it's not going to be the main one for young people because they're going to think, well, I want to have more control of it. And it's a case of, maybe use it to a certain extent, take advantage of the tax benefits, up to 30,000 as concessional contribution. But any more and above and beyond that, they're probably thinking, well, I'm going to invest elsewhere. And that way, they can't touch it. They can't change it. I have some control over it.
So are the big funds panicking over this?
I think more of a branding thing. I think the funds are concerned what damage this has done as far as superannuation as a wealth creating vehicle. But I think super funds, look, the returns that they've had in the end of the financial year, they've had a good run.
Thank God for gold.
Well, it depends on where they're invested, yeah. But, well, Trump did some damage at the beginning of the year, but the super funds have actually closed the financial year. They'll close the financial year looking really, really good. I think the biggest problem for super funds is that they've had a lot of problems over the past year, whether it's not paying death penalties, whether it's cybersecurity, whether it's just not understanding that customer service side of things, that it's the consumer's money. If they need to access it for whatever reason, can they help them and so on. Where are these super funds going to invest moving forward as well? Because it's a $4 trillion industry. It is hard when you've got that much money to find where you're going to park that.
Can't even imagine
Yeah.
where you would start.
Very big first world problem.
I have a question from me this
Yeah.
time. I've been seeing a lot of chatter on social media lately about this new trend of micro retirements.
Yes.
What are they? And how do people make that work?
Micro retirement, and did it start in the US? I don't know, but it's definitely here. So I've been speaking to financial advisors that specialise in micro retirement.
Gee, that's niche.
Yeah, that is niche. I'd like it. I'd like to maybe visit one myself. So the idea of this is basically that we are going to be working longer. We are living longer. We're buying property later in our lives. So I think the normal retirement of, I'm 60, I was 67, pension age, I'm going to retire now and live happily ever after. Younger people aren't buying it in the sense that they're thinking, I am going to be loaded with debt for the rest of my life. It's going to take me a long time to pay off everything. I'll probably be working till I'm, 70 maybe in some form. And then what happens if my health is not there? What happens if I hit 70 and I can't go on my holiday because I'm just don't have the health? So they actually want to have this bit of micro retirement throughout their life. They're pacing themselves. It's a long race.
It's a marathon.
It is. It is. So that's the idea behind it. It sounds great, but how do you do it?
Well, that's it. So what would you be mindful of if you were considering something like that? Time out of the workforce means time out of your super contributions as well, things like that. What would be some of the things you'd be mindful of?
Yeah, so it depends on your age bracket and what you need to do with each of those. So again, speaking to this advisor, speaking to people who have actually done it, you need to prepare yourself. You need to be prepared. So in your 20s, it is building as much of your emergency and saving account as you possibly can. And you're right, you are going to lose some money off your super. So depending on if you take, say, 1 year off each decade from your 20s to your 60s, you'll probably be behind by about 9 years from when you retire, and your super balance falls a little bit. But it's about pacing yourself, building that second income stream, and basically planning for that period where you need to take some time off work. But it also comes down to, can you imagine trying to get a job if you keep quitting?
Yes. So what's the impact on your CV and the rest of it?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, but then again, speaking to another person that's done it, their employer is very accommodating and understands that if I do give my employees some time off to rejuvenate, they become back a better person.
If it's only 6 months or 8, 9 months or whatever, that's sort of easy to plug the gap.
So it's more of a mind shift on how both the employer and your finances can actually do it.
What would you do with a micro retirement?
I don't think I can go in retirement. I think I'd go crazy.
Who would answer all of our questions in the makeup room, Effie?
Yes.
We'd be stuffed.
I don't know what to do with my spare time.
I know. It feels like a fantasy, doesn't it? Okay, what are some of the other trends that are emerging in 2025 with finance and things like micro retirement?
Yeah, look, I feel that the last 4 years, 5 years, we have been so focused on just trying to make our budgets work, which is great, because for some of us, it's probably the first time we actually sat down and thought, where is my money going? And it can be a real eye-opener. So the focus has really been on fine-tuning our budgets, on saving. And I think we have and pardon the word, like screwed our budget as much as we can. Most people,
We've done all the bill comparisons, all of it.
we've done it.
Yeah.
We've done it. And it's so hard to actually probably squeeze any more juice out of our family budget. I'm not saying it's never possible because plans change, prices increase. You should always be looking at it. But I think we've done very well and our skill set there have improved so much. But moving forward, what I would like to see is more of us now starting to invest, starting to build that wealth, because we have put that on the back burner, and rightly so. No one had money. And even now, there'll still be households thinking, these two are crazy, these two birds talking right now.
These two birds? What are they on about?
What are they on about? Who's got money?
Yeah.
I get that, but I would like to see a bit more of a shift on, okay, well, how do I make the money that I do have work for me? Because it's not going to work in a bank account at the moment now with the shift in where rates are and where we're heading. In a low inflation environment, a low interest rate environment, it really does need a bit of a shake up as to what you need to do now to make the most of what you have.
Well, and I think it's important to remember that you don't need to be rich to invest. You don't need to start with $100,000.
Yes, you do.
All in, right?
No.
I'm
joking. I'm joking.
Yes, you do. You've got to be a money base. I mean, is $100 enough? $100 a month enough to start chipping away?
Absolutely.
ETF or whatever?
Absolutely. There is lots of micro investing sites that you can jump into that do invest in exchange traded funds. I mean, Ray's kind of started it all. But you've got to watch the fees. But it's more that habit, Sylvia.
Yeah.
And that's what I'd like to see more people get into. You start doing 100, you turn that, $100 a week, you've got 5,200 after a year. That looks good. I start getting excited when I see something over $1,000. Then you can move it, shift it into something else. Things grow. The beginning is hard. It's interesting. There's this great statistic, I think it was Roy Morgan or something came out, or JP Morgan, whereby, and use an example of, say, Susan, and she started investing 25 to 35, $100 a week or something like that, and stopped. She only did it for 10 years. And then John comes in later at 35 to 67, and he does it right up until 67. Susan has more money in the end than John.
Yeah.
Because it's that compounding effect.
The time.
The
in
time.
The market.
And then your money starts working for you rather than you working for it. So absolutely never think $50 is not going to do anything. The hardest part is starting. That's the procrastination in us.
Yeah. And finding what is the starting point for me,
Yeah,
the right
yeah.
starting point for me.
And sometimes it's just a case, if you're listening to this right now, do it. As soon as you finish and listen to it, even just stop us right now. Open up an investment account. Look at ETFs. If you're not quite sure where to start, even there's an ETF filter on the InvestSmart website, which you can. It's got all of them. You can just put in what you're looking for.
Well, that
bang.
is a great place to start, isn't it?
There's lots of ways to
It's all
start.
at your
Just
fingertips.
do it.
Yeah.
Do it. Yeah.
Okay, no more procrastinating.
Yeah.
Last question, because I know you are extremely passionate about this. If someone is listening to this right now, hopefully they haven't turned it off just yet. Just give us 2 more minutes. What are some other ways they can improve their financial literacy without having to pay for it?
Yeah, okay. So I'm a big fan of the Money Smart website, government website, so it's, no commercial interest. So definitely read up in there. There are some great books. A big fan of Claudia Hammond, Mind Over Money. So one book I just could not put down, a psychologist, money expert, just resonated a lot with me about how we think about money and what we do with money. Definitely, a money book you can't go past. Read some of those. I do have my own too, From Converse to Louboutins, A Real Girl's Guide to Money.
You are speaking my language.
But you can get it at the library too, so you don't have to buy any of these. They're all in the library. The other thing is, if you've got a young child that you want to improve their financial literacy, that you want them to move out of your house.
Eventually, at some point.
Yours are young. Yours can't leave. Well, maybe. How long are yours?
To leave. They're only 5 and 4.
Oh, they should be out in another 5 years.
Yeah. Yes.
You've got to get the money
Straight
saving.
to Macca's for their first job. They'll be right.
No, it is sad. Both of my kids are out now, and I used to joke about this. I can't wait till they leave. Yeah. And I miss them. I miss
sad.
them. It is sad, but you want them financially savvy.
Of course.
So if your child, I always say, if your child's bad with money, take a good look at yourself.
Yeah.
Because they pick up a lot of the behaviour from us. And sometimes through no fault of our own, we weren't given the tools. So if that's your case, you're not that good with money. I do sit on the board of Extra, which is a not-for-profit organisation. And we have Talk Money. So you can Google that, Talk Money, independent financial literacy courses for schools. Your school needs to reach out to them. And I've sat in some of these classes and boy, the lessons that these people give to these students are gold in the sense that it's practical stuff.
Yeah.
It's like your kid gets their first job. They don't even know what to check. Are you being paid super? Do you know where to look for it on your on your pay slip? What's your hourly rate? What's your tax? Did you get a tax file number? Do you know the responsibility if you have an ABN number? All this stuff is practical stuff that they teach kids, and that's free. And you can register your school if you feel like you don't have the tools or equipment to help your kid.
Great advice. I want to thank our listeners who wrote in. We had so many great questions, so thank you for your very thoughtful questions, and I hope you got the answers you were looking for. And a very big thanks to our very special guest today, Effie Zahos. Always great to chat, Effie.
Thank you so much for having me.
Pleasure.
Thank you.